Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be back with you. Good morning to this week on Sangha Life. My name is Ulla Koenig, and I'm a mindfulness and meditation teacher from southern Germany. And we're going to talk about the art, the practice, the form, the concept of samadhi this week, form of meeting our heart minds, practicing towards a sense of calm and ease and nourishment, which is a bit a mystified concept in the Buddhist world. So we need to talk about it to see what misunderstandings there are, what pressure on practice it could put upon you. So I'm very delighted to be with you this week. First of all, a couple of technical things. New platform, new challenges. Feel free to ask in the chat box. I have Jorge in the background, and he will take care of the technical side of things because we're all fresh and new to this platform. So there is the chat box, and if you wish to ask something, ask for help, please feel free to type a message in. Or if you want to just say hello to the rest of the Sangha, very lovely Sangha here, feel free to put it into the chat box. Then we have like the usual setup of our day together, our morning together. The hour will split into 3 parts. I will talk for roughly 15 minutes. And then after that, we're going to do a practice, a meditation together of about 30 minutes. And at the end, there is the possibility to share your insights, to share your questions, to share your concerns, to share your frictions with the practice or anything I said. And that goes into the question and answer. And you can do that by either putting your question into the chat box, but then please make sure to put question in capital letters in the beginning so that Jorge will be able to pick that out and put it into the question section. Or you use the raise a hand, and then you can ask your question there. And if you have questions about that, put that into the question in the chat box as well. And we will just learn together this week, as I'm just as new to this platform as you might be. And it will be a joy to discover it together. Finally, also depending on this new platform, it doesn't have a Dana and donation button. But as you might recall, Sangha Life depends on the financial support. And if you wish to give something to Sangha Life and the teachers, in this case myself, you can do so by using the donation link, which Jorge put right in the beginning of this chat to send something out. And I think he will put that link in at the end of the session as well. Okay, so with the good support of Jorge in the background, we'll give it a go. And I'll just start our session this morning. We're going to talk about samadhi. And samadhi is one of those words, if you read through the suttas of the Buddha, the Pali suttas, these ancient discourses, you will stumble over again and again and again and again. Actually, I heard another teacher saying lately that after the words, the traditional classical words Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, samadhi is one of the most commonly named concepts in those ancient discourses, far more often than mindfulness, sati, by the way, which I think is interesting in and by itself. But just like with mindfulness, it can be tricky to understand what samadhi actually is. Part of that is because it's difficult to describe an experience of the heart-mind to each other. It oversteps, it's beyond the realms of the discursive language, so to say, what we experience. Words can only be fingers pointing at the moon. So we almost kind of have the invitation this week to feel it out. Allow my words just to be pointers to something, and then see for yourself, experience for yourself. That goes together with the other almost disclaimer I want to give right in the beginning, is that it's very much highlighted at times, this concept of samadhi or meditative absorption and jhanas and what else, and we can feel quite some pressure as practitioners to say, well, I'm a proper practitioner if I experience those states. Did I manage the first, the second, the fourth? all 8 jhanas, and then I'm a proper meditator. I want to say right in the beginning, all of us are capable of experiencing samadhi in a sort. All of us most probably have had moments of collection, harmony in the being. So, and it's not as far away as we assume at times. I might just say we look at the wrong places. It's almost like if we look straight with a very narrow gaze in front and say, I believe this is samadhi, yeah. And if we soften the gaze and maybe turn around and look over our shoulders, that's where it actually is. So this week is almost to a play, an experiential play this week with this concept, and also with the idea to say we all might have busy lives, we all might have busy minds and hearts, and what can we do with these busy hearts and minds when we don't live in Nepal, in a cave, in loneliness, but have the nitty-gritty of our daily lives? Where is samadhi to be found then? And this is what I wish to explore with you this week. Okay, we start right at the beginning, and that's the word. To understand what samadhi could be, coming here from the conceptual side, we start with the word. Samadhi is a component of sam and da. Yeah, sam means together, bringing something together, and da means to collect together. Yeah, and for me, the meaning of this compound is to bring something together, to collect something, to unify something. And if you listen, there is a lot of something, collect something, bring together something. So what is this thing we wish to unify, to harmonize, to collect? Well, this is chitta, yeah, our heart, mind, chitta. And so, where do I find this chitta? Because it's not materialistic, yeah, it can't be touched, it can't be seen, but it can be almost felt out. In the world of the Buddhist concepts, or the ancient Buddhist concepts, we have chitta as our heart mind. So chitta is all that which is responsive to experience: sounds, sights, smells, thoughts, memories, images, sentences, yeah, all that touches upon something, yeah, that which is responsive within us, that is part of chitta. And then, like a swing door, you know, in these Western saloons, the saloon movies, you have those swinging doors. And chitta is that which swings in with the responsiveness, and it's that which swings out, yeah, that which responds to those experiences. All those reactive patterns and habits and everything which, those impulses, that which wants us to act upon something, that is chitta too, yeah. And so we can imagine it to be this swinging door, and if you imagine something comes in with a lot of force into this saloon, yeah, the swinging door it goes deeply in and goes deeply out. That is what we call those deeply heavy patterns of reactivity. Yeah, when something comes in which is perceived to be deeply frightening, yeah, the swinging door will, the response to that, the impulse to that, will be equally as much as intense as the incoming impulse. So chitta is that which is responsive and that which responds. And that is as much on the affective emotional side as it is on the intellectual, cognitive side, the realm of thoughts. All that belongs. And part of our bodies as well too. We have all those somatic responses and somatic experiences as well, of course. Chitta has a third aspect, and it's that which recognizes, that which experiences, that which is present, that which is aware. Yeah, so we have almost a paradox that chitta can be aware of chitta. And that can give us a lot of headache at times in our practice when we try to understand it intellectually. And you can imagine that the stronger this swinging door is, the less capacity there is to recognize something and to be aware of something. And if the swinging gets slower, yeah, or lighter, there's more spaciousness, more capacity to be aware of something. So, and this we might experience a lot of the times. Sometimes in our practice, they say, "Oh, if the swinging gets less, I notice the heart mind has more capacity for awareness, for equanimity, for presence, for dwelling, as the Buddha said so beautifully, dwelling in other calm, nourishing experiences like metta, like mudita, like compassion. Yeah. So this is our daily experience, that we have this swinging door within us, and it can be many, many things. It can be mesmerized by an experience. It goes all out there. It can react to an experience with a lot of dynamic and drive, and it reaches out into the world and it wants to do something and reject something else, and it gets activated and pulled and pushed. And this is our daily life experience a lot of the time. And with this energy of chitta, it does not drop away the moment we touch the cushion with our bum. Yeah, the swing wheel just continues swinging. Like if you put something into movement, it will pendulate for quite a while. The greater the push is, the more habitual the push is, the longer it will continue swinging, even in our practice. Now, samadhi is almost the experience of the heart mind when this push and pull gets lighter, less activated, less driven. Yeah, it pendulates out, so to say. And in those meditative experiences, we have less or even an absence of this push and pull at times. The other image I love very much is the bird which settles into its nest. The bird, chitta, or heart mind, it's not as agitated anymore, and it needs to go out there and find a mate, or sit on the tree and sing a song to let everyone know this is my territory. But it has actually the time and the peacefulness inside to just settle into a nest and sleep. Yeah, and the nest is resting in awareness, resting in being present for something. Samadhi is the state of chitta, where we are deeply connected to our well-being, to a sense of clarity, of presence, and can rest in that and find nourishment in that. And because that is not a switch we can either turn on and or switch off, there is the practice or the path of samatha. That is the path which leads us step by step by step by step by step by step towards samadhi. And this is what I wish to look at with you this week. The Buddha himself, it has taken him almost 7 years to kind of find this path of samatha, while he might have, through these 7 years of practice of ascetic life and meditative experience, he might almost have put together a few puzzle pieces, but it took him 7 years to put them kind of together to a coherent picture. And there is a beautiful little text in the suttas which I would wish to read to you, because that emphasizes it beautifully. So he said, I recall sitting in the cool shade of the rose apple tree while my father the Sakyan was off working, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unskillful qualities. I entered and remained in the first absorption, jhana, which has the rapture and bliss born of seclusion, while placing the mind and keeping it connected. Could that be the path to awakening? He asked. Stemming from that memory came the realization, yeah, that is the path to awakening. And then it occurred to me, why am I afraid of that pleasure? For it has nothing to do with sensual pleasures or unskillful qualities. I can post that into the chat later. So this is a beautiful invitation almost, to say he was sitting there on rose apple trees, how a beautiful smell, I was told. So he was sitting there under this beautiful tree in connection with his family, yeah, but secluded from everything which gave strong impulses to the sense doors. Nothing agitating was crossing his mind. There were no unskillful qualities, as he said. And then he entered and remained in this almost absorption, state of harmony, well-being. And later on he referred to that moment and he asked himself, well, could that be the entrance door to a deeper and deeper liberation, liberation of the being? And said, yeah, that might actually be the door. And to say, not being afraid of that well-being. And that is such an invitation to me. Samadhi is a deep state of well-being, something which can be felt somatically, which is an invitation to almost align our practice with a form of well-being, not pressure, not harsh concentration, not willpower, but looking for a sense of well-being in our practice. Isn't this quite an invitation? We are invited to enjoy our practice. And I'll go with you there in a moment into the practical aspects, but I wish to almost emphasize a bit of the benefits of a practice of samadhi in a few sentences. First of all, samadhi practice can bring a great well-being, joy, ease, and contentment to our experience. It's like we all, as human beings, have a natural desire to experience pleasant experiences. We want to feel good, yeah. And with Buddhist practice, we might have this tendency to try to negate this, very human, very, I would say, almost evolutionary drive to find experiences and lean towards that which feels good, yeah. And we might negate that need and say, well, let's get away from that. That's bringing me into trouble. Yeah, Buddhist texts say that sometimes. If we cling to the pleasant experiences, we might get ourselves into trouble. I would say it's very hard to overrule that natural desire for experiencing pleasant experiences. Very hard. And rather trying to make the impossible possible and override that tendency, well, let me just become wise about the food I feed to the heart mind. Yeah, let me become wise about the source of those pleasant experiences. And this is where samadhi becomes very handy, because it is a different resource for happiness. I don't need to get anything from anyone, or my outer circumstances, or having the right time of the day with the right place with the right person at hand so that I can be happy. Yeah. And then the person leaves the room or outdoors, all of a sudden some heavy noises come and then it's out of the window again. So rather than depending on the outer circumstances and things and people so much, we can find a source within us to say, well, I have a reliable source for happiness within myself. That does not mean that I deny that happiness can come from other places as well. Yeah, absolutely. This is lovely to be with kind people, and it's lovely to be in nature and be nourished by it, or have a beautiful holiday or something. That can still be in our lives. But you might know from yourself that we relate very differently to other people and circumstances when we're not dependent on them. When we're nourished by them, when we're happy, yes, they are in our lives, but I don't depend on them. I don't have you to be there, or else I'm totally afraid that my happiness will be lost and gone. Yeah, so we stop clinging so much to these outer circumstances because we know another resource for happiness. So knowing and practicing this path of samatha practice can be deeply liberating. Yeah, I'm not feeling so dependent on something anymore because I have something which I can almost carry around with me, which can, with more and more practice, tap into reliably. Yeah. Samatha practice also adds to our resilience and strength. You can imagine if we have this capacity to, and that's the first and foremost capacity we're going to take care of this week, when we have this capacity to soothe and calm and care for our heart minds, yeah, almost to turn towards it and nourish it in a way and feed it in a way which is deeply calming and relaxing. It will change the mood, it will change the quality of the heart mind itself. It's less hungry, it's less agitated, less deprived, less contracted. And this, of course, then changes how we relate to experience. It changes how we take care of ourselves and others. It changes how we take care of our inner dynamics, because we have capacity to do so. And we even are more capable with a certain samadhi practice to take care of our inner turmoils, our emotions, our challenging feelings, or those who go through pain and illness and sickness, doing that out of a resourced heart mind is such a different experience than doing this with the everyday agitated, hungry mind. And finally, before we go into practice, last point, samatha practice is a wonderful access to clarity and wisdom. We hear a lot in our practice that we practice vipassana and we should be seeing things and observing things. But if you see and observe things with the everyday agitated, hungry mind, that will almost destroy your perspective, what you see. Yeah, the negative, critical mind, it will only see so much or only see a certain type of experience. Yeah, or always interpret it in the same way. So if we see seeing clearly as the result of samatha practice, rather than putting it right in the beginning, we're doing ourselves a favor. Yeah, the mind is less involved, less easily agitated, less reactive to what we then see. Yeah, we have less of the shadow of the old with us, or our habitual patterns of interpretation. If we first take care of soothing, calming, nourishing, collecting, harmonizing the mind. So I would say wisdom and clarity are almost, dare I say, a byproduct of samadhi practice. So, and all these points of contributing to our well-being, having a liberation from all the other things which we think our happiness depends upon, heighten our resilience and our inner strength, and contributing to clarity and wisdom. I would say that contributes so much to our path in total that I would say there is no wonder that that's the Buddha mentioned it again and again and again, this concept of samadhi. Now, I've talked enough about the concept in and by itself. I want to come to practice with you now. I don't really care with what posture you practice in. I'd actually be happy for you to do that in the public transport or while walking or anything, because samadhi is not something which depends on where you are and what you do, but more of a capacity, a skill of mind, which we want to develop everywhere. Yeah. So please choose a posture of your own liking. And the first thing we're gonna do is respectfully meeting our heart mind. Yeah, it might be that your heart mind chitta is all over the place. Yeah, the swing door is heavily swinging. And a lot of the times you come into our formal practice, this will be the case. You come out of a day with so many impressions and such an incapacity to settle. And well, that's your heart mind today. Yeah, and then we're gonna get wise about how to meet this, how to practice with this, how do I relate to this this energy, this capacity this morning, so that you become caretakers and shepherds of this heart mind, this chitta as it is this morning, not another chitta you think you should have, yeah, but actually this chitta as it presents itself today. Yeah. We're going to play with this in this meditation we're going to do together now. Okay, find yourself a posture you prefer. And maybe just roll a bit of the shoulders after all those words and stretch and yawn and sigh and settle in. And then there's no need to do anything in particular in the beginning. Just welcome yourself. Saying, oh, hello, dear body, dear heart, dear mind. Not yanking them to any practice in particular. Just allowing them to be here for a moment and getting in touch with them. And just see whether it's easy or not so easy to be in contact with bodily experience this morning. Can you feel your body? And how would you describe those experiences? There might be many of them. The mind leaning towards that which is painful or unpleasant this morning. Does the body feel heavy, tired still, or already agitated, ready to get going? Would you say that the body is a place, a good nest for the heart, mind, the awareness to settle into this morning? Or would it be difficult to settle into this body? Now, shift gently, take more inventory, stock, and shift to the realm of thoughts and thinking. How present is thinking for you right now? Maybe thoughts are like a traffic jam on the highway this morning. One thought after the other, almost lining up to be thought. Maybe some voices are really loud and clear. Lots of shoulds and oughts and have tos. Maybe some thoughts about I, me, mine. Now you might have one of those days when there is less traffic in the mind, less of thoughts, more break between thoughts. The thoughts are of less of a sticky nature, not so compelling. Now we shift to the emotional, the affective side. How are you feeling this morning? Are there any emotions clear and present? Any mood? Maybe it has a weight to it, maybe not. Or maybe there's not a lot going on the affective side at all, and that would be absolutely okay too. Now we also want to take inventory, take stock of the quality of our attention. And to do so, I just invite you to be aware of your hands. Just be aware of your fingers, your palms, and just see what happens with your attention. Seeing whether it's possible at all to connect to the hands. Sometimes the mind can't settle on any experience at all, just floating. That would be okay. That's how it is this morning. Or we notice, we can connect with the hands, but the mind is very unstable. It very quickly goes elsewhere, to the realm of thoughts or other experiences. It's drawn, pulled, pushed somewhere else. And that is another important piece of information. Okay, now maybe you got a little bit of a feel for how body, heart, and mind and your quality of attention is doing this morning. If you want to, you could almost do like an inner bow to these qualities. So, well, this is what I practice with this morning. This is what I take care for this morning, just as it is this morning. Can't go to the supermarket and get another mind anytime soon. So we take care for what we have. In the next couple of minutes, we're going to see what we can feed to the heart mind, which might feel nourishing, calming, soothing. And if you find anything which feels good, brings a little bit of well-being, ease, relaxation, please feel free to stay with it and mute myself into the background of your awareness. Let's start with gently moving, micro movements, just rocking from maybe one buttock to the other. Or if you stand, from just gently swinging one feeling to foot to the other, or forwards and backwards. Just a very gentle rocking, slow motion. Maybe noticing every now and then, not all the time, not necessary to concentrate hard. To notice how the weight shifts between one foot and the other, between one buttock and the other. Or if you're lying down, you might notice the two sides of the body. Gently pressing into the mattress, the sofa, the floor, wherever you are right now. And allow your mind to drift. Continue the gently rocking movement and allow your mind to drift every now and then. No need to take prisoners. And then allow it to come back when it feels ready to do this rocking, gentle movement. Which can be so small, it is hardly seen from the outside. If you like that, continue doing it. We feed another kind of food to the heart mind now. We take nourishing inhales and relaxing exhales. Can you breathe in a really caring way, as if breath would be nourishment for the body? Very respectfully, gently. And maybe every exhalation is an invitation to relax. Dear body, dear mind, dear heart, relax with this exhale. And then again, no need to inhale and exhale deeply every time. Maybe you take one, you allow the mind to drift, to settle, to do its thing, to run round. The next time you feel ready, you take another of these very nourishing, caring inhales and exhales. And really check yourself whether it's effortful, laborious what you're doing, and then just allow yourself to do nothing for a moment. Just drop the effort. There is neither a medal to win, nor is there anyone behind your back observing whether you're doing it correctly. Enjoy your practice. Maybe breath is not for you this morning. So maybe you want to shift to the next source with me, or maybe you love breathing this way, and then please continue. The next thing we're going to do is just sit, or just stand, just lie, just walk wherever you are, and having to do nothing with our minds. Maybe the mind is totally chaotic and over the place this morning. What if that was not a problem? What if I can relax into this absence of anything to do or anyone to be at the moment, becoming any better, improving anything, living up to some Buddhist standards of meditation? Just drop that. What if it would be just okay to sit or to lie down or to stand? And just see how your heart mind reacts to that. There's a reaction to this invitation as well. It might benefit you or it might not benefit you. And then feel free to do something else. You're the authority here. Maybe for these last minutes of practice, you might come to one of those anchors, the swaying movement, the breathing, or just being, that which the heart mind responded to well this morning. Or you might know a different way of practicing you know your heart mind responds well to usually. And just rest for a couple of moments in silence with that. And now, maybe just a short reflection. What helped? Even if it was just a tiny bit. What helped your mind? What food was appropriate for this body, this heart, this mind this morning? Did you understand something? Gain some insight about your dynamics and how respond carefully, wisely to them? Maybe you learned something about what not to do. Oh, if the heart mind is like this, like it is this morning, breathing doesn't go very well. Maybe that's your insight for this morning. And then we gently start moving, stretching, yawning, sighing. And when you feel ready, you come back to the screen. So, this would be the time now where you could share on your practice, maybe any questions you had, or maybe some reflections on what I said. Maybe something caused some friction, and I feel please free to ask as well. That's important things to clarify upon. And while you type and think about whether and what you want to contribute, I'll tell you the simile of the two cooks. the Buddha said there were two cooks, and they were just equally excellent cooks. Yeah, both of them wonderful meals they produced. And yet he said one cook was more skilled than the other, not because he was cooking better food or more tasty food, but because he brought his food to the king and he observed the king's reaction to the food. Some food the king preferred, and he emptied out his plate in a split second and wanted more. And some foods he pushed aside, and after a couple of bites, I think actually I'm feeling full. And using that information, he adapted his food to the needs of the king, and learned kind of by observation, learned what to feed the king and what to cook for the king and not to cook for the king. And the Buddha said that's the skillful cook. Yeah. And the same is true for a meditation practice. There are so many techniques out there and people can feel quite overwhelmed. Well, there are so many techniques and practices, but your heart mind will not respond well to all of them. Yeah, it will prefer some over others. And it's even not true that every heart mind responds to the same practices all the time. Yeah, so if you come very agitated or a tad sad or a tad tired to your meditation cushion, you will need a different practice, a kind of different entry door to samadhi practice. Than on other days where you feel clear or rested, yeah. And this is so much what our practice is about, to learn and to remember appropriate foods for our heart minds, just as the cook. So let us all become skillful cooks there. Okay. And let me copy the passage I read out to you earlier. So, do you have any questions or anything you would like to share or reflect upon? Ah, great. Laura asked, how do upekkha and samadhi differ? Now, samadhi is this state of collection of inner harmony, which kind of allows for upekkha. If we look into or a deeper sense of upekkha can, if you look into the discourses, we will see that this deepening of samadhi, when we speak about jhanas, for example, it brings up upekkha will naturally well up with it. And we then find upekkha in other places as well, where it is not mentioned in connection with samadhi practice, where upekkha is kind of a practice in and by itself. Yeah, in and by itself, to say, well, let me see how I can develop, practice, maintain, nourish a sense of balance towards this experience. Yeah. So we have upekkha, which comes with samadhi very naturally, as almost as a quality the mind picks up. Upekkha, I see it as this capacity, this bird's eye view, this spaciousness around experience. And you can imagine that when we nourish the mind and soothe it and calm it, it's more capable of taking a distance to experience. It's not so involved and entangled anymore. So I would say it's a natural quality which develops. And it might be, in cases where it's not connected to samadhi practice, it might be almost a kind of a shift of perspective. Yeah, a shift of perspective. Let me remember to create a bit of spaciousness around this experience here. So I hope, Laura, this clarifies. If not, feel free to ask again. So Margaret is writing, thank you. After sleeping and annoyed with myself this morning, I slept badly. With your suggestion, I accepted the tiredness and the irritation with myself. I don't feel less sleepy, but much more accepting of my state of mind. Wonderful, Margaret. Now that is a harmonization right there. That is samadhi practice, you see. It's not that we get rid of the agitation necessarily, or of the sleepiness, or of the tiredness, or of the moodiness. But the first thing which can fall away is the reactivity towards that. And that is already in and by itself less agitation, less entanglement, less friction. Yeah, to say, well, that's how the heart mind is this morning. Yeah, now let me see how I can take care of this heart mind, this sleepy, slightly annoyed heart mind this morning. Beautiful. So, yeah. And all of those who have to go early, like Jen, have a lovely day. Yeah. And maybe just to see, as Jen writes, she goes back into her day with a bit calmer and more open heart. Our practice is effective. Yeah, our practice is effective. That is what we all kind of know, and it might seem a bit trivial. But coming together these mornings and feeling slightly changed afterwards, that shows the effectiveness of our practice. Yeah, it shows that we actually have this thing called chitta, which we can't find and point to properly. But there is something sensitive. Yeah, our practice touches upon that, and it has a positive effect on it. And we can get more and more skilled about learning about it and dealing with it. So what seems to be like a complicated Buddhist concept, it's actually something we can experience. And please, for all of those who found it difficult, please feel free to share it as well. Yeah, we don't want to create the impression that it's all easy what we do. Yeah, it's not at all. Yeah, beautiful Jane. Jane is writing her swinging door is still now. Yeah, great. Just to notice this, we can do this. We can have a swinging door in full motion, like Margaret wrote. Just becoming accepting of that. That is the swinging door. That is the heart mind. It's in full motion at the moment, and I can't just stand there and decide and say to it, "Stay still." Yeah, that won't work. But when I accept that it's swinging, I'm at least not pushing the door in addition to the swing it already has. And sometimes when we have the tools and the practice, it will almost pendulate out much more peaceful picture than stopping it with force. So Clive is writing, is samadhi practice the same as learning not to fire the second arrow? Yeah, that has much to do with it. I would say this pendulating movement I just described, Clive, it has a lot to do with not shooting additional arrows, which then continue to swing the door. Yeah, it's almost, it's not about the second arrow, it's about the nth arrow, about the 15th, the 16th arrow, and we're kindly walking up way back from the 16th through the 15th through the 14th. Yeah, that is more the impression of my practice. And so and when we start fueling it, the pendulating will get slower and slower by itself. It's not something I have to do with so much force. Maureen is writing, I find myself anxious to get into meditation, to really start when my mind won't immediately settle. Beautiful, Maureen. That is so important to notice and acknowledge. We come to the cushion, we come to our practice, and it can be connected with unpleasantness, deep unpleasantness. I don't want to meditate because then I have to meet this quote unquote full catastrophe. How can you make it easier for yourself? I find it sometimes much more easy to be in motion. Yeah, to be in motion. If I come too still too soon, the inner dynamics and the inner turmoil might be too much to handle. So maybe a walking practice or a dancing practice or just this swaying movement, yeah, can make it easier. So find yourself ways, acknowledge that, respect that, and then find yourself ways to ease into practice, yeah, so that it does not become this overload of unpleasant experience. Lawrence wrote, my mind was very agitated and distracted, like a butterfly that can't choose a flower. Beautifully seen. You have to say, oh, dear heart mind. Or like the bird or the butterfly saying, wow, you are agitated this morning. Dear fragile creature. Butterfly is such a fragile creature. If I press you too hard, I do harm upon you. Yeah, if I just take you and force you on the breath with a lot of action, that feels almost violent. Yeah. So almost to have this patience with this fragile creature, accepting its its turmoil, and then to say, well, let me see whether I can feed you impression after impression after impression of steadiness, of stability, and almost after a long time, they will become something like a deep exhale and say, okay, now I'm ready to settle. Yeah. And that is what we're going to do the next days. We're going to speak about the art of relaxation tomorrow, and about emphasizing well-being, not pressure, and about feeding our mind breadcrumb experiences so that it can settle very slowly. So this is what we're actually emphasizing over and over the next days. So Caroline emphasizes that rocking is helpful. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Then stay with it. Find the movement. Find the movement. If stillness is too overwhelming, go into the movement. Yeah. And even as Caroline then writes, this rocking might touch upon old experiences of being cared for, give a sense of compassion, of friendliness, metta, which we can then tap into, which is a beautiful resource to have. And Andrea is writing that it becomes easier to find samadhi more and more. Yeah, the allowing attitude is very helpful. And the tender curiosity. Yeah, lovely. That is beautiful. If you can find the curiosity and this permission to go slowly and partially and find out what samadhi actually is for us rather than hunting some concept, that is beautiful to do. So glad to hear that, Andrea. Okay. Anyone else? Not for the day. Okay, so we're gonna tomorrow talk about really the art of relaxation. If you haven't had like deep well-being today, be absolutely ensured that that is not your fault, but that relaxation and easing and soothing, it's an art form. And the more the swing door swings, of course, the more kind of patience and challenge this relaxation will be. That I would say that is absolutely normal, and that is something we can become really skilled and wise about, is the art of relaxation. Then on Wednesday, we're going to talk really about the emphasis of well-being in our practice. It is a well-being practice. It's not a concentration and pressured focus practice. That is so often a misconception about samadhi practice. On Thursday, we're going to talk about the importance of accepting that our mind will spring, will move, will be dynamic, yeah, and that and what we can do with that, yeah. And finally, on Friday, we're going to talk about anchoring and settling, safekeeping our mind in an experience and how to do that. So that is the outlook for the week. I hope you enjoyed today's session as the opening, and I'm happy to practice with you in the upcoming days. Be well today.